私の名はレオモン。
So, this week's episode of Digimon Adventure : kind of felt a little bit like a weird sandwich, where the top and bottom pieces of bread are the best part, and the filling in the middle was kinda bland. This episode had a really interesting beginning and end to it, but the middle bits were honestly kind of dull. This episode starts off with Taichi, Yamato, and their Digimon wandering around the digital world's desert we saw at the end of the last episode. Taichi is trying to get a hold of Koshiro, and eventually receives a response. Koshiro informs him that he, Sora, Mimi, and Joe have somehow made it back to the real world, but without their Digimon. Joe's being the lovable, responsible boy that he is, and tries to tell the police about everything that happened, but they understandably don't believe the crazy ravings of a 12-year-old. Taichi's mom and Hikari happen upon the group, and Mrs. Yagami once again forgets that she has a son, and doesn't bother asking his friends about him. Back in the digital world, Taichi and Yamato come across a mobile fortress straight out of Star Wars, complete with its own group of stormtroopers that literally cannot hit anything at all. As they're about to be overwhelmed by the vast amount of enemies, a new group of Digimon shows up to help. LEOMON rides in on Peckmon while OG Digimon fans start twitching and having Vietnam flashbacks. Together with Spadamon and Falcomon, they rescue Taichi and Yamato and lead them to safety. Once there, they have a short meeting where Taichi and Yamato learn that it's a Digimon named Devimon who's been causing all the struggles that they've been through. LEOMON then tells them that the enemy is transporting some sort of important cargo, and Taichi and Yamato agree to help the group in their operation to find it. Can I just take a moment to address that this is now the second base-style Digimon that we've seen so far in the series? First we saw Ken and Beamon, now we have VALVEMON. Now, I know these Digimon have existed in the games, and even VALVEMON has appeared in another series in the past, but this is the first time that we've seen them in the Digimon Adventure universe. Personally, I don't really care for the thought of a carrier-style Digimon with other Digimon inside it, but what do you guys think about it? It's just making me think back to the original series with Edamon in his trailer being dragged by Monochromon, and wondering how things would have changed if the trailer was a Digimon the whole time. Anyway, the party then assaults the base, and the enemy continues to show that they can't hit anything at all. The group makes their way into a larger room where LEOMON begins to battle the enemy leader, MINOTAURMON, and Taichi and Yamato work together to fight Bullmon. I actually really did like this battle scene. We get some cool scenes with LEOMON fighting, and this is really the first time since episode 2 that we've seen Greymon and Garurumon work together against a common foe. Sure, we've seen them fight the same enemies several times throughout the series so far, but special attention seems to be given to fights that focus purely on these two. After dispatching the enemy, LEOMON and the group finds the cargo that the enemy was smuggling. LEOMON uncovers the cargo and reveals the biggest surprise of the episode. It's Takeru. The episode then ends off with an ominous shot of a captured Angemon. Okay, so like I said before, I really thought that the bookends of this episode were by far the most interesting. Discovering that the rest of the kids were now in the real world really surprised me, but also left me a bit worried. With them in the real world, does that mean that we're not going to be seeing a lot of them in the next few episodes? Is this just an easy way to write them out of the show temporarily so we can focus on Taichi and Yamato? Though, maybe there's also a possibility that this leads to an episode focused on this group and how they're going to get back to the digital world to find their partners. I can see the separation being really good or really bad for fans of these characters, so I'm eager to see what Toei does. The next, and probably biggest surprise was seeing Takeru at the end of this episode. I knew that he was going to end up in the digital world because we saw him digitizing during last episode, but I did not expect to see him like this, being captured so quickly by the enemy along with Angemon being in an even worse situation from the looks of it. I mean, seeing Angemon in the last scene made me unexpectedly worried, and a lot more invested in this episode than I was before. There was also a very interesting scene at the beginning where Devimon is talking about how Nidhoggmon was just the beginning of what's to come, and we see an ominous scene of other potential enemies preparing. Despite not liking the previous episode, I liked seeing that the series was building up on what Nidhogg had established, and it seems like they're going to escalate even more from there. All in all, I'd say this was definitely a better episode than the previous one, but it still wasn't anything too special. The beginning and ending scenes of this episode definitely stood out to me as the best and most interesting parts, so I'm excited to see what happens next. I'm also really hoping that we see some stuff happen with the kids back in the real world. I have a suspicion that it's going to end up being Taichi and Yamato doing something to bring them back, but I really hope instead that it's the kids who work together and do something on their own to reunite with their partners. I guess we'll just have to wait and see though. But let me know what you all thought of this episode. Are you excited to see where the story might be heading? Were you OG fans happy to see LEOMON again? How do you think the separated party is going to return to the digital world if they do? Leave your thoughts in those comments. Thank you as always for watching. I've been thinking of doing some other Digimon related videos soon, potentially more videos on the upcoming English release of the TCG, or maybe doing some discussion videos on other Digimon series that I haven't fully seen, like Frontier. If you'd be interested in anything like that, let me know. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.